Okay, awesome. We have everything pretty much set up, I think, quite quickly. Hi everyone, good to see all of you and welcome to the live Friday Q&A. So this is going to be a live weekly Q&A for the month of May 2020. I know that now it's a time where most of us are staying at home, keeping ourselves safe, ourselves healthy and happy. I also understand that this is a time too where we are making use of technology for a lot of things. We are making use of technology to both learn and earn as well. For individuals who are using technology to learn, whether it's young students or even adults as well, is to connect with trainers, to connect with coaches, to connect with different course providers to learn more about how you can level up, and then you are be able to, the moment the recovery phase happens, you are able to ride on the wave, and you do have that set of skills that are required for you to enter that new phase or perhaps that changed work landscape. How do you then use technology to earn? For many individuals, they are in fact making use of online platforms to connect, to deliver content, to share value, and to help solve problems of individuals and businesses as well. So it's really great to be able to connect with everyone, and thank you so much for the questions. Thank you for sending in the questions so that I'm able to connect with you, able to answer those questions. And I know that these questions mean to you a lot, either by way of improving your own effective communication skills, or maybe just getting some ideas so that you can incorporate it in your speeches, in your businesses, or maybe in life as well. I'm more than happy to share my personal experiences. And as we always say, every one of us, our experiences, they are the authority to help us grow. Whatever advice we do receive from mentors or from coaches, it is still up to us to go through our own inner filters and to find out what is the most relevant of them so that we can incorporate them and then come out even stronger and more developed. I have two boxes with me. Speaking of questions, I have two boxes with me. I'm going old school this time round. Why? Because this is really more fun to literally pull a question out from the box. I have the white or cream color box and I have the pink color box. The one that is white or cream in color, it's a box where a lot of our friends from all around the world, they ask personal questions. Questions asking about what I do, what's my daily routine, what are some of the things that I enjoy, what are some of my personal motivations. Because I also do appreciate that you would like to know me at a personal level, and I would love to know you all at a personal level as well. So send those questions in. We'll be calling for questions. You can drop us a message or can comment on our post, and then we'll extract those questions. My team actually pull them out and then put them in the box for the weekly Q&A. We also have the pink color box. This pink color box, this time around, you notice we have way more questions. I think it's the month. It's a special month, right? This time around, it's the month of the school holidays here in Singapore. So we actually have a lot of questions from parents asking not just for themselves, but for the kids as well, how they can improve and can become better speakers. So we have a lot of questions here. And this being live and not a pre-recorded version, you can feel free to ask questions on the spot. Derek is here with me. My younger brother Derek is here with me. He's behind the scenes, and then he will be able to help me write down the question and then to pass it to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer the questions on the spot. We also value feedback as well. So some of you did mention that perhaps we could extend the time by a little longer because you felt that the previous session was a little short. Some of you also advised us that perhaps we could toss in maybe one or two more microphones, since that we are toggling with 2 or 3 cameras right here. We have taken all these advice, and thank you very much. For us, it's about, in a way, connecting with everyone, and then in a piecemeal, progressive manner, we will continue to incorporate sort of the advice, the feedback that you all have given to us, and then we will continue to make this experience a great one for you all. Which brings to mind one really important thing, and that is about speaking online or speaking in front of a camera. Many a times, a lot of individuals fear to go out because they fear that the moment I put myself out there or I speak in front of a camera, if I do a bad job, it means it can be shared very easily. It can be shared amongst a lot of individuals. And that stops them from putting quality content out there. And this is what I would say is that you're shortchanging yourself quite a bit. Many a times, if you take a look at even some of the best YouTube influencers, you look at some of the best online presenters, look at some of the best podcast creators, their first few projects were not exactly fantastic as well. And in this day and age where there's just so much information out there, it is important for us to strike the right balance between quality and quantity. It is not to have that perfect version, but it's to have that great enough version, to have that little room for imperfection, for lack of a better term, and still get your content out there, because until and unless your content is out there, no one is probably not going to know more about your authority or to know about your subject matter expertise. Okay, so we're going to start by taking questions from the pink color box. So if you have questions, just feel free to let me know. It's really great to see many of you joining in. Thank you very much for joining in. We have individuals joining in and watching live on YouTube, individuals watching on Facebook, individuals watching on Instagram as well. So great to have all of you. Let's pick the first question from the box and we shall answer them. Oops, this one fell out. We have this question right here. So I will read. The question is, how do you deal with people not liking you online, especially when you are communicating something that you firmly believe in? I think this is a very, very powerful question. It's a question not just in the minds of individuals who are starting out, individuals who are already there, and individuals who are at a whole new different level and want to pump to a different level. You realize one common denominator, and that is, regardless of how good your content is, and I think I've said this on multiple occasions as well, that no matter how good your content is, it's not just me, many other individuals say the same as well, not because it's a cliche, but because it's so true, yeah, that no matter how good your content is, for every 1,000 likes that you get, you're going to get 10, 20, maybe even 100 thumbs down. For every 10 fans that you get, you might get one hater. And some of the comments that come in don't even make any sense. I have received comments for some of my videos saying things like, if you give me genuine feedback, like for instance, if you feel that, you want to hear more of this type of content instead of this type of content you've heard of many times, that is good feedback. So at least I know what's the market response. But if you come up with content like, Darren, I think I don't like your eyes, or I think I don't like your lips, these are things which I personally don't think that I'm going to go for any drastic surgery or any form of cosmetic correction just to make you happy. The thing is, it's just one of the few individuals who give, comments like this. A good friend of mine, and my brother also shared with me, Derek can affirm to this. Derek also shared with me that he read it on multiple platforms, that when individuals have nothing more to comment about you than your hair or your lips or your eyes, that means you've pretty much done very well in the other areas that do matter. For example, your content, for example, your subject matter expertise, for example, your authenticity, and for example, your confidence and charisma, speaking in front of a crowd. So that is what matters to me even more. So nowadays when we see comments like, oh, Darren, you are Asian, or Darren, your lips is shaped weirdly and whatever. So all these comments, we are happy in a way because we are no longer upset by it. We're able to toss them out and change our relationship with it. Now, Tony Robbins once, I believe, quote a famous philosopher. And it goes something like this, that if you want nobody to dislike you, you want nobody to give you negative comments, you want nobody to say nasty things about you, then you post nothing, you do nothing, and you be nobody, right? So if you want to be somebody, you want to do something, you want to give some value, you want to say something and mean something, then be prepared to have just some individuals who hate you. One perfect story that I can think of that would really settle this is, there's this famous story that's going around either by way of a YouTube video or a Facebook post. You might have seen this before. It shows a couple, a male and a female couple with a donkey going to the wet market. One day, they decided to go to the wet market with the donkey, and both of them decided not to ride or to sit on the donkey, just side by side walk with the donkey. And you have people saying these two people are just nuts. They are crazy. They don't know how to make use of resources by sitting on the donkey. These people are just crazy. So when they heard that, day two, they decided to change what they do, decided to have the wife sit on the donkey and the husband walk. And guess what? There were some people who commented that this wife is such a bully. This wife is so cruel. This wife is just someone who is not sensitive enough, who just seems like the big lady in the house, not sensitive enough to the needs of the husband, make the husband walk. How selfish. Then, the next day, they decided to change. And this time around, the husband sits on the donkey, the wife walks. And again, you have some individuals who say that, you know what, I think this husband is just a male chauvinist. This husband has zero care for the wife. How dare he makes the wife walk? Yeah, haven't you heard of care for your wife? Happy wife, happy life. So the next day, they decided to change, where both of them sit on the donkey and then go to the wet market. And guess what? Again, people are upset. Some people said something along the lines of, how can two people sit on a donkey? That's just so cruel. That's animal cruelty. Yep. So the next day they decided not to sit on a donkey, but they would carry the donkey and walk to the wet market, thinking that in this way, no one is going to blame me for animal cruelty. Guess what? Some people said things again, and they said things like, these two individuals, this couple, they're just plain dumb. The donkey is meant for you to ride. It's not meant for you to carry to the wet market. So here's the thing. Whatever the permutation of a choice that you take, there's going to be someone who's going to disagree with you. There's going to be someone who's going to say something else about that. And they're not going to like you for it. So why not choose something that you firmly believe in? Choose something that you are genuinely happy about. Choose something that there will be no regrets. Because by the time you hit a few minutes, when you're at your deathbed, a few minutes before you leave and depart this world, we all do, right? You're not going to care about what this person said about me and my donkey and what this person said about me and my public speaking skills and me and my lips. Who's going to care about that? You're really going to care more about the impact that you have made and the people that you truly care about. So to these individuals, you don't really have to care. So one of the best things is to not let it get to you. Letting it go is tougher than to hold on to it. So when it's that difficult to hold on to it, let it go. Know that no matter what you do, no matter what you say, there will be some people who will hate you, who will dislike you for it. So why not just focus on the people that love you, right? So that's a beautiful, beautiful first question. What a wonderful way to start. So thank you very much for this question. I'm going to pick another question from a personal box. Derek, do you have any question? If you have any question, you can just pass it to me. Yeah. Okay, so this is a live question. Okay, I'll put it here. Next one is, Darren, what can you cook well? So this is a personal question. Thank you very much for this question. Whenever people ask me, can I cook well, I will always say that I think it depends on how you define well and the variety of dishes. So, well, for me, I would say I am an okay cook. That means I can survive on my own. If I were to go on an exchange program, I can cook and make my own meal because number one, I'm not a fussy eater. And I eat very, very cleanly. Number two, I am someone who can pick up skills quite quickly. And this is something that I'm proud of. Yeah, I can pick up cooking skills, and when I follow certain advice, certain videos or certain recipe, I would be able to do it quite well. The only problem now is that I don't have a lot of time, so I do buy back, and because I have such a lovely and awesome mom. Mom, I love you to bits. If you're watching this, my mom cooks for me and my family, so we are very, very grateful to our mom. We don't have a domestic helper, so it's mom, dad, me and my younger brother in one apartment, and we take care of one another. So my mom cooks most of the time because Derek and I now we are so busy with work. I can cook pretty well for quite a number of dishes, not as well for sure as my mom, and certainly not as well as my brother. So next time round when we have my brother Derek joins this, Derek next time round I think he can probably join this Q&A, and then Derek can share with you how well he can cook, as well as the different kind of dishes he can cook, okay? So yeah. Next question that I have, this came in live, so thank you Derek for writing this. The question is, how do you start a Facebook Live, and what kind of content to talk during Facebook Live that can catch people's attention? Now this is really, really cool a question because why? Three things that I just want to share with you all very quickly. In terms of, let's touch on the very important question is, what kind of content to create for your audience members, right? There are three things that I often share with my friends because I do have quite a number of friends who do Facebook Live and they do it very often. Some of them do it even more often than I do. They do it like 2 or 3 times a week. For Facebook Live, the first one, getting content, if you get it bottom up, it's really very effective. Meaning you let the audience members decide and ask you the kind of question so that you're able to answer them and give the most relevant response to them that they need the most as well. So 2 ways that I gather feedback from the audience. Number one is organically. So organically, how I get feedback is, for example, I do post on my Instagram, on my Facebook, as well as on other social media platforms. My followers or my audience members, what they will do is that they will comment, they will send a private message, and my team will actually take out all these questions and make sure that I will be able to pick from a box if there are that many. Then I'll be able to answer questions asked directly from the audience. Sometimes we also have questions from the audience being asked live right away, and we answer straight away. So this gives the audience members a lovely sense of involvement and participation. One of the things about effective communication is when we do course design or when we do give speeches or conduct a training, most of the time we think of audience members as participants, but they're not really participants. The irony is that audience members, while they are your participants there, they really want to be involved in the training. So even in our stories, we include the audience members as characters in the stories. We also get our audience members to share some pointers so that we facilitate the discussion and synthesize the learning points. And you'll be very surprised at the points that the audience members can come up with. So that's one thing that I really want to emphasize. The second thing is not an organic gathering of information, but it is a method in which, because my company, Public Speaking Academy, we do run several online digital marketing engagements. We run ads on Google, we run ads on Facebook, we run different kinds of target ads as well from other forms of affiliates. So these are what we call paid advertising. And for paid advertising, we do have a particular funnel which gets the audience members, especially audience members who purchase our products, to ask them, for instance, what are some of the problems that they feel, what are some of the pressing questions that they would like to be resolved, and these are the people that we are able to survey. Those people who are already into the system, who already bought into the system, those audience members who are just browsing what are the types of questions, that is very good for market survey, but also at the same time in creating the kind of content to speak. So for example, when we did one particular survey, we saw that 90% of the comments or the questions that came in were largely how to deal with stage anxiety, and therefore we created, in fact, a training just on stage anxiety alone. And that really did very, very well. So if you want to talk about Facebook Live that can catch people's attention, find out from the people themselves so that you will be not just an interesting speaker, but a speaker who's really, genuinely, and you are using and proving through actions, interested in your audience members. So how to start a Facebook Live? I would say three things. The first one would be get a camera. A camera nowadays with your smartphones, you can easily get access to a camera. You can make use of then a microphone. You can either have perhaps I'm using a wireless earpiece right here. You can have a microphone, you can have a boom mic as well. So no problem. And the final one would be to have fair enough lighting so that people can actually see effectively. I'm not sure if you can take a look, but basically we have two lights to support lighting equipment to actually help support and so that you're able to see me clearly as well. Okay? Yeah, so these are the things to take note of. Now, thank you very much for the question. Lovely question. If there are any questions, feel free to just send them over. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. Oh, okay. So Derek mentioned that there are two questions here, the pink and blue one. So these are from our live audience. So I'll answer these two. The first question is, this is pretty long. You can see it here. The question is, there are times when I start a presentation without power in my voice, and I struggle to project my voice with a certain tone, and how can I, start energetically? In the middle of my presentation, my vocal projection, it got better. So here the key is, there are times when I start a presentation without power in my voice, and then I struggle to project my voice, with maybe an awkward tone. So how do I start energetically? This is often, we actually do have we do have training classes on vocal variety. We do have training classes on how to work on vocal projection and all. Usually it takes quite a significant amount of time to go into the intricacies and the practices and the evaluation checklist. But again, this is not a time in which I'm selling any programs. I will not even mention the name of the program here. This is a general Q&A. I just thought of giving just value, right? But there's only that much I can share within a short period of time. So I'm just going to share two very important things that you can use. The first thing to take note of is your body posture and position must be right. Many a times when we are very, very nervous, it's very easy for our body posture and position to actually go in a misaligned manner. So when it is misaligned, what happens is that the column of air that is coming out through your vocal apparatus as a result of the interaction of your diaphragm, your intercostal muscle, and your lungs, right? Having air in and out of your lungs, This interaction, as it pushes the column of air out through the vocal apparatus, that creates the, we call it the acoustics, yeah, the resonance, the strength, and the tonal quality of your voice. That itself is not channeled effectively. So make sure the one thing that you want to take care of would be your posture, feet shoulder width apart. Try not to balance your entire body weight on one leg. Feet shoulder width apart. It's a more stable position. Shoulders not slouched in a relaxed position. So how do you feel more relaxed? Take a deep breath in first. Feel your lungs expand. It rises. Feel the cool air rush in. Feel it. Feel it. So take your time, feel it, and just fill your lungs with air. And when you let it out with a sigh, make some noise, make a sound, and feel the entire body relax. Feel the entire body relax and don't rush in this process. You do it for a few times and you can feel your body naturally is more relaxed and your shoulders fall in place. It's no longer in this tense manner. And finally, chin parallel with the ground. The problem with the position is that some individuals, they hold cue cards and hold it at such a high level, it crosses the chin level. So of course your voice is going to be projected here. It's going to be projected towards where you want it to go. You either bring your neck down or you bring the notes up. It's definitely not a good position to go to. Make sure your chin is parallel with the ground and have your notes not cross your chin level. So that's certainly going to help. The other thing that is going to help you very, very much to bring about more power, right, in vocal projection is surprisingly the facial expression. This is one thing that a lot of people miss. They think that somehow facial expression can be detached from the voice, the power of your voice. Meaning to say that I'm able to isolate them and see them as mutually exclusive entities where I can have a stoic facial expression or zero expressions whatsoever, and I can still somehow be able to speak in a powerful manner. The thing is this, and it's been shown in multiple studies, that when you smile, even while you're speaking through the receiver, no one can actually see you. It's not FaceTime, right? No one can actually see you. But yet, people can feel the power of the voice. People can feel the passion and the enthusiasm. Why? Because your facial expression also activates the muscle that brings across better acoustic quality of your voice. So they are not independent groups, they are interdependent groups. So take note, when you use your facial expression and you want to, for a start, to ease nervousness, to make sure that you are in a relaxed manner for greater voice power projection, then remember to smile. Pause for a few seconds, smile, look at your audience, and then you speak. Because that is going to be so much more powerful as compared to all that judgment in your mind, not smiling, going up on stage cold, thinking about struggling with the first few words that's going to come out from your mouth. So these are the things to take note of. Okay, so that's a very powerful question. I'm going to take one more question here and then we'll go back to the personal question box. The question is, let me just see, on Instagram, okay, so far so good. We don't have any questions coming in here, but we have quite a number of questions coming in from Facebook and YouTube. This is another such question. The question is, for non-native English speakers, especially when speaking extemporaneously, that's very good use of vocab, how to translate better or sound more fluent? I would say non-native English speakers, if you were to define it as non-native meaning, English is not your first language, and English is not the main language you use for business, education, for communication, interpersonal communication setting. That means perhaps it's your second or your third language. It doesn't mean that you cannot speak effectively. And there's a strange dichotomy that people feel somehow that if you are not a native English speaker, you cannot speak well, and you cannot become a powerful or confident speaker. Worse still, some individuals feel that in certain countries, because it's Asian or it's non-US or non-UK kind of countries, naturally English is not their native language, and that is so not true, right? We know that even if English is not your native language, you can still speak fluently and effectively if you put in the right, not any practice, but the right, well-calibrated practice on 5 core competencies. Your pronunciation, your enunciation, the clarity with your articulation, and with the 3 elements of vocal variety, that means speed, pitch, and volume, and finally a pause, you are able to have these 5 core elements. You'll be able to speak with such clarity that your audience members will be able to understand what you have to say. Now, the key here is not just that. The key here, I think, in this question is when speaking extemporaneously. When speaking extemporaneously, here's a very powerful idea. Extemporaneously means that you don't necessarily have a pre-written script word for word, memorized word for word, verbatim, but it's more of big ideas, general ideas, a scaffold, a structure, and then you are able to speak. That means each presentation of the same theme might sound quite different from one another, right? Because like how I conduct a workshop, because I also conduct it, I've conducted it many, many times. Each time I teach the concept of storytelling, I do use some word variations, but by and large, the idea is there. So how can you make yourself not that nervous? And by the way, native English speakers feel nervous as well. They're 2 different concepts. How do you speak more fluently then is to first master the content. So the vocal techniques aside, master the content effectively. The whole idea of extemporaneous speaking, some people may not understand it fully. They think it's just writing out their points in point form. That is not enough. On top of writing out your core ideas in point form, you need to master the ideas. Not master the words, but master the idea. Meaning to say, know the ideas inside out, know the ideas so well that even if you change a setting, you are able to make use of another way, another approach to explain the same concept. This gives you flexibility too. When you present and when you speak before a crowd, you are able to shape the contours of your delivery, able to adapt your delivery to suit the needs and particularities of your audience members. So that is something to take note of, okay? Therefore, how to speak more fluently, the 5 core vocals, you can check out some of our YouTube videos. We have quite a number of techniques on that. I probably won't have time to share all of them here. And translate, here's the thing. If let's say English is not your first language, when you think of a speech and you say it out, when you think of a response and you deliver it, try and think of it using the English language. Quite a number of times, individuals, they will think in the language they're most familiar with, and then they will translate it in their minds. And that is not exactly a very, very fast approach. Like for example, for me, I do take up another language, a third language, Thai, right? And I was also advised too that once you hit a certain level of competency and you need to give public speeches, especially extemporaneously, then what you would want to do is you want to think of responses in that language and not to think of it in English first and only to translate, because there would then be a gap and then you would not be as fluent as well. So that's one thing to take note of. Okay, thank you very much for the questions. We have more individuals joining us. Thank you for tuning in. We will take one question from here. This is... This question is a personal question. Darren, are you good when it comes to accents? For me, well, you have seen some stand-up comedians, what they do is that they are able to take on different accents as they speak, and then they do make fun of these different accents. You could immediately it comes to my mind, I could think of stand-up comedians like Russell Peter, I could think of Trevor Noah. They're really good when it comes to accent. But for most of them, when they speak, they don't speak with a very, very strong accent that is immediately characteristic of a particular state or a particular country. Even within, say, the United States of America itself, we can have Americans who are from Texas, born, bred, raised there, who speak the English language, and that is their native language, but in a different accent from someone who's born, bred, raised in New York. English is also their first language, but of your effort. I really enjoy these games. My brother would love playing RPG games, games like Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 8. the funny thing was that my brother would play these games, and when, like, for example, Final Fantasy IX, when it comes to the big bosses, the final stage in order to win it all is like, for example, I remember there were last two bosses, I think Trans Kuja was one of them. Then my brother would try a few times, and then when he couldn't try, he says, why not just let me try, because beginner's luck. I could potentially be able to still beat the boss, and I managed to clear the 2 stages. When my brother played Assassin's Creed, the final stage as well, passed the controller to me, I managed to beat the boss as well. So really, if you ever need help when it comes to beating the boss at the final stage, just ring me up, look for me, buy me durian, and I'll be more than happy to assist. Okay, so we have one more question. I'll just take one more question here. The question is this: how to make a speech like an exciting action movie or superhero movie? Wow, it's an interesting one. How do you make a speech an exciting one, right? Such as an exciting action movie or superhero movie. Now, because it's a movie, every movie, great movie, every movie needs a powerful story. It needs a powerful story. So the powerful story is that the one thing that's going to help keep your audience members in suspense, you get your audience members to be at the edge of their seats, and it's going to get the audience members to cling on to your next few words and to want to know what happens next. So remember, how to make a speech like an exciting action movie, you need to have an exciting blockbuster type story. So how do you have a blockbuster type story? You can check out some of my YouTube videos. You'll be able to see some of the training videos there where I share with you some techniques and some strategies on how you are able to use the law of compounding conflicts, how you're able to include more dialogue in your presentation, how do you use the hero's journey, how do you able to use the universal litmus test, how you're at the same time you're able to use the wisdom hierarchy or the pyramid to help you bring your characters alive and get your audience members to be part of that story, to cling on to the next few stories. And stories that are not just for public speeches, stories are also for branding, for ad copywriting, and you'll see that some of the most powerful storytellers, they're also some of the most powerful sales individuals and some of the most powerful marketers as well. So there are some key elements into creating great stories, so stay tuned, just check out our YouTube channel, just go to, just type in Darren Tay for in the YouTube search bar, and you'll be able to search Darren Tay's YouTube channel. You'll be able to see some of the videos in there. We should have, if I recall correctly, some videos sharing with you some techniques or some strategies on storytelling, because now we don't have time to cover all, so I hope they've been useful for you. I just have one more question. Any other questions? Because I'll just take one last question. I think this is from our friend who just tuned in on Instagram. The question is the sense of humor essential for public speaking, and if so, how to develop the skill? This is a question that quite a number of my adult learners ask as well. When it comes to having a sense of humor and using humor in your presentation, most of the time there are several techniques that we can use in order to incorporate humor in your presentation. A sense of humor definitely helps to diffuse a rather tense situation, to make a very dry concept come alive, useful for trainers, useful for keynote speakers, and you'll see that sometimes humor, if used appropriately, can even be used in situations that most people would dare not use it, for example, in a eulogy. That means a speech that you give at a funeral. Generally for humor, there are a couple of techniques and strategies. Again, we won't have time to cover all, but you can consider using humor, for example, the power of 3, self-deprecating humor that's very useful, daily observations that most individuals would think, hey, I observed that as well. Include that in your humor bank so that when you need it, you can actually pull it out. And at the same time, you can make use of exaggeration. These are some of the techniques that are very useful and very helpful. Now, how humor works typically is that the smarter your audience members are, the better it is that your humor will work. Why? Because your audience members tend to think faster than you. They tend to think ahead. So what happens is that humor works where there's an expectation that's being built, and then you derail the train of thought. You break the train of expectation. That the audience members, when they least expect it, you give them that punch line or that punch word. A famous example, a typical example, in fact, that we use is the example of John is so lazy. He doesn't even wash his own clothes. He doesn't wash his own cups. He doesn't even wash his own body. And that gets the audience members to laugh. Why? Because the first two, they serve as the setup and the momentum building elements. Where the audience members, they will expect if someone who's lazy will not wash clothes, someone who's lazy will not wash his or her own cups. But when it comes to the body, that's something that the audience members don't expect. Now, the smarter the audience members are, the faster they will think. So therefore, when you introduce that punchline, a punch word, they are the ones who are going to laugh the hardest. They are the ones that are going to laugh the loudest as well. So to be able to do that, you need to, of course, have the humor bank and some of the other techniques to help provide that derailment of that train of thought. With that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your questions. You have all been very, very amazing. We still have a lot of questions that we'll continue to answer them. Next week, same time on a Friday at 9:30, I'll be having the live Q&A. So send your questions to me and feel free to tune in, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram, or whether it's via YouTube. We stay tuned. Take care, everyone. Happy Friday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. Bye.